high streets across the country are dying, aren't they? We've all seen it round our way, you know, the proliferation of vape shops, the shuttered windows. It's horrible to see. But communities are set to be given new powers to start saving their local pubs and their local libraries, which is the beginning, under new government plans.
So these unwanted betting and vape shops could be blocked from opening as part of the government's new Pride in Place programme, which aims to improve and revitalise neglected high streets. Well, Housing and Community Secretary Steve Reid joins us live from Telford. Robert Jenrick raised some eyebrows, didn't he, earlier this year when he talked about weird Turkish barber shops. I'm quoting him on that, which he said were essentially fronts for money laundering. He suggested that. It sounds like you agree with him that those kind of shops are chipping away at our society.
Well, good morning. It's good to be with you from the Hare and Hounds here at Withington, which is near Telford. You can probably see some of the friendly locals over my shoulder here as well. They tell me they've had a lock-in all night, but they look a bit bright-eyed for that to me. But no, the point you're making is an important one, because there has been a proliferation of, you know, what look like fake barber shops, vape shops, betting shops, closed down shops on the high street, those metal grills that come down covered in graffiti, and people feel powerless to do anything about it. But when your high street turns into that, when your town centre is in decline, you can't feel pride in it. And that means people stop feeling pride in themselves and their locality. So we're planning to change that around and give people the power they need to make a difference to their own local area. Local people know best what needs to change, so we're going to give them the power to do it.
Right, OK, because I think a lot of people would agree with that description and the feeling it evokes in people. How is it practically and specifically going to work then? Because a lot of these areas that you're talking about, research shows are also in areas where reform is getting stronger and stronger. So is it a cynical ploy to offset Nigel Farage, or is there specific power that's going to see real change?
No, what we're doing is focusing on the areas that have been held back the most under the previous government. The powers will be everywhere, but the Prime Minister will be announcing record funding later today to those areas that have been the most held back, so they have the resources to make the change they want to see. But the kind of powers you will get will be a community right to buy, for instance. You know, I'm in this wonderful pub. It's clearly the beating heart of this community here, but that's the case all over the country, and yet we've seen thousands close down over the last decade. Under our powers, the community will have a right to buy. They'll have 12 months to get together and raise the money that they need. But the Prime Minister later today will be announcing funding so that those communities have the resources they need to move ahead. Where you've got, you know, boarded up shops, empty shops that have just sat there for years. Quite often no one knows who even owns them, but they're a real blight on the high street. They stop something vibrant coming into the space. Instead, we're going to give councils the powers to compulsory purchase those units, and then they can open them up to the communities to do whatever they want to do in them. There could be a centre for local voluntary or community services. It could be a meeting place for older people. It could be a hub for younger people to get them off the streets and make sure they're not being drawn into antisocial behaviour. But we can make our high streets and town centres thrive again. But the top-down approaches where Whitehall decides haven't worked. So we're trying something very, very different. We're putting the power and the resources into the hands of local people based on the insight that it is local people that know their area the best, and it's local people will know best what needs to change.
Well, good luck with it. There's more, obviously, to talk to you about this morning before we lose you. I know you're a busy man, and you've been busy there. You've been doing lots of interviews this morning. This is just one of them. But you must have at least glanced at the front page of the Daily Telegraph today. Big interview with Andy Burnham, the mayor of the city of Manchester, of Greater Manchester, rather. It's a clear challenge to your current boss, the Prime Minister. What do you make of it?
Well, you know, we have seen this movie before, haven't we? When we were in opposition, people would tell the Prime Minister that he couldn't win the next general election. Then he picked this party up off the floor and he led us to a historic general election victory. Now we are making real the change that people voted for. So over the last 10 months, we've seen wages rising faster than they did over the previous 10 years under the Conservative government.
What do you make of this clear challenge to his authority? Andy Burnham he's not backwards in coming forwards here in this interview. He's saying that he's not going to deny that he's been approached by Labour MPs basically asking him to run for the leadership.
Well, I speak to a lot of Labour MPs. I haven't heard that myself. When MPs are coming to speak to me, they're talking to me about how can they help to make sure that we get the homes built that they want to see in their area. How can we give communities in their area the power to turn around their high streets? So what I was doing in response to your question was listing the changes that we're already seeing. 5 million extra NHS appointments means waiting lists going down all over the country. 35,000 people who had no right to be here removed. That's a massively increased number than we saw before. So the government is already making the changes people want to see. Here I am today on your show talking about these new powers so that people can take back pride in their high streets by dealing with the problems that blight them. And later today, the Prime Minister is going to announce record funding to change those things.
You're also talking about a challenge to the Prime Minister, and obviously it's the party conference next week. Do you think there might be some awkward scenes?
Well, I'm very proud of what the Prime Minister is doing. I'm very proud of how he's leading this government. I couldn't be here today talking to you about this Pride in Place plan if it wasn't for the fact that I work with Number 10, I work with my colleagues across government to put these policies together. So we are focused on delivering the change that people voted for. Of course, you're going to get people who are going to make other comments. We've got conference coming up. Labour conference has always been a place where there are plenty of ideas being batted around. But we really need to just get on and deliver the change that people voted for. The election was a year ago. We've made a good start already.
The Labour peer, Thangam Debonair, has just told Andy Burnham to stop sticking his oar in. She said that he should simply let Starmer get on with the job. Do you endorse that?
Yeah. Well, she's very plain speaking, Thangam. I'm here to get on with the job that the Prime Minister gave me. I was made Housing Secretary still less than 3 weeks ago. I've got a big job to get 1.5 million homes built. I've been speaking to Andy, actually. I've been speaking to Sadiq Khan, Tracy Brabin, our other mayors up and down the country about how they can help. We all have to pull together to deliver the change that the country wants to see. And we've already made a good start. We'll keep going. This country will be transformed. That is what patriotic renewal is all about.
You're in the West Midlands today, and of course, to talk about communities, and one of those communities very affected is Jaguar Land Rover and all those who rely on jobs for them. Has the government, has we as society taken our eye off the ball about cyber attacks? There's been so many for important employers in our country, across the board, from airports to M&S. We're taking our eye off the ball on that because this is devastating.
Well, you're quite right, Kate, and this is a big concern. What we've just seen happen to Jaguar Land Rover this week has happened to other businesses already. Now, I know that the business secretary has already been speaking to Jaguar Land Rover. He's been speaking to other businesses in the supply chain because, of course, they're affected too. But importantly, they've got the National Cyber Security Centre looking at what has gone wrong in this case, looking at the other examples that you've just mentioned, because we need to make sure businesses are much more resilient against these kind of attacks that are becoming much more frequent. So they'll be learning from what's happened. And from that learning, we will work with those businesses to make sure that they can protect themselves properly against these kinds of incidents.
And very briefly, what about deterrence? I mean, obviously, some attacks we know are coming from foreign states, but quite a lot of them are coming from basically young people in their parents' box rooms, forming loose confederations of disruptors. They are causing enormous damage. Do you not think that there needs to be some exemplary punishment when these people are caught?
Well, I think what you need to do, I mean, this is kind of a new form of crime, isn't it? It's changing and it's developing. And we need to make sure that both our prevention against it can evolve at the same pace, but also the deterrence, as you say, the punishment needs to meet the scale of the disruption and the damage that these individuals are creating. So we will be looking at that across government. The Business Secretary, as I say, already focused on it. I know the Home Secretary is focused on it as well. We've got the National Cyber Security Centre, but we need to make sure we're keeping pace with the criminals so we can stop what they're doing, catch them, and they do need to be punished severely for what they're doing to people's livelihoods fundamentally.
Yes, as a deterrent. Steve Reid, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.